Hello Virgo, welcome back to my channel. I am Mariana and I will do the vibes inside for you today. So I'm just starting to shuffle here while I'm tuning a little more in. Like I get a vibe of something like maybe something about the comfort zone or something you really like to do, and then there's something you really do not like to do, or you could say there's a hobby and then there's a work, or there's but work in the sense that it's something you really don't like to do. And like really feeling that difference. Almost like if you could choose only the hobby part, you would probably use most of your time there and least of your time on something else. We have a flyer here, it's called Trust Your Innocence. So again, something I feel like about, and look at how white she is, right? This, the Virgoian or virgin-like expression of this. This is, you could say, well, yeah, the innocence is the purity in you somehow, right? The purity. Maybe you feel like the hobby part, or this is where you feel most calm, or as I said, your comfort zone. This is where you feel more relaxed. I even hear experienced, even though we say innocence here, but it may be, there may be something about that innocence that is an experienced innocence. Experiencing innocence. There's something about that, I feel like, experiencing innocence. It seems like it draws you more in. It's almost like I don't know, a part of yourself that you haven't, or that is young, or innocent. Like The innocence is typically a little bit like, well, it's associated with the child, right? The child. We have, you could say, somewhat of an understanding about the excusing, like the excusing of a child, right? We say that, well, it's because they don't know yet, right? It's because they haven't tried this yet. This is new to them. It is, they don't know yet. They are not old enough yet to somehow deal with stuff like this, or they are not supposed to, right? The innocence, there's a purity, right? That it has not been touched, it has not been influenced, it has not been polluted, or so there is something about a part of you that may not have tried something yet. And as I said, that there is this thing about the hobby that maybe your comfort zone here, you feel more at home, you like this more, you're more at ease with this, right? So if a child is very keen on playing with their dolls most of the day, they can do that and be in a kind of an innocent zone. But if the child should suddenly try something new, it may feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable maybe. As I said, doing some kind of work that you don't like to do because over here it seems a little bit more pleasant. It seems nicer, calmer, familiar. And because of that, you tend to go there more, right? Or this is where you find, say, calm again, or you find your balance again, perhaps. So it's an important thing that maybe this thing you do, it gives you balance, or it gets you there's something about her expression also, the way she stands with the hands here. You know, like it's this, but I didn't do anything, right? It wasn't me, right? But I didn't do anything, right? But I don't know, right? The way she just stands there. How could I know this, right? But I don't know. I'm the innocent one, right? So I don't know. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to do this. I'm not aware. I haven't learned. It's almost also a bit, I don't know if it could be an excuse, but that's not what I feel like. I feel more like experiencing innocence. Well, it's an interesting thing, because the opposite of that would be always experiencing responsibility, right? Maybe this is the new thing, right? That you need to experience innocence, or someone who doesn't know something here, they would probably have a difficult time taking action, right? Because they don't know. Again, the arms here. Yeah, but I don't know, How do you expect me to do this? I have no clue, right? I'm the innocent one, or I'm the child here. I'm the novice. So there is, we could say, an excuse to those who don't know, right? There's an excuse to those who don't know, as opposed to those who do know, because those who do know, they are usually able to do stuff. They are usually able to take action. It is expected also that they take action. But if someone cannot, doesn't know, is not old enough, has no clue, is clueless here, how should they? How should they be able to do that? So when I say experiencing innocence, I get almost a feeling of like, maybe you need to somehow also experience this, that you are not accountable for something, or you have the right also to like be this one if you really don't know, like, you know, like if you really don't know, or you are a novice in an area, you should let yourself experience that. You should let yourself say, I don't know. Can you fix this, right? I don't know this. Can you fix this? Or please help me. Please help me. I don't know how to fix this. Because I'm the innocent one, or I'm the one who doesn't know. Let's say, because here you stand in, she stands in some kind of purity. She really doesn't know, right? Like she really doesn't know. It's not because she doesn't want to cooperate or doesn't want to learn or something. It's just at this point in time she doesn't know. She hasn't done it yet. She hasn't experienced it yet. She hasn't learned yet. But I get almost like a reversed thing. I get the feeling that you should, it says here, trust your innocence. It's almost like you should trust the experiencing of being the innocent one. The innocent one is someone who is not accused. They haven't done anything. Or you could say, the innocent one is the one who's not guilty, or assumed or judged guilty, right? It's almost like, and again I get the reversed thing. It's like you should experience what it feels like to be innocent. So I assume there is a situation, or has been a situation, where you have felt guilty or judged somehow. And because of that, you could not claim this, right? You could not claim this. You were somehow guilty or judged or assumed guilty. And because of that, you couldn't experience this. You could not experience this idea of not being judged, or of not being the innocent one, of not being the child, perhaps, you know, or So it says here, trust your innocence, that there is an area or a part of you that was not guilty. You were not guilty. And you have every right of claiming that. You have every right of saying, I don't know. I wasn't part of this. It wasn't my fault. I haven't learned this yet. I don't know about this. And trusting that, even though it may feel, like for an analytical Virgo, maybe you would like to find a solution, right? I feel like Virgos are quite perfectionistic. They want to solve stuff and find a best possible solution. But in this case, it may be a situation where you literally don't have the answer. You have no knowledge of this area. You are a novice here. You literally are. And if there is some kind of problem, there is something about knowing that you are not guilty, or you are not to blame, perhaps. That you're not to blame. For something. It's almost like it's time for you to also know what it feels like to be innocent. Like not being the one that is judged or accused of something, or expected to maybe, fix something, right? If you're innocent, you cannot be sentenced. You cannot be judged. You cannot be sentenced. There is a forgiveness that comes to, or an excuse that comes to a child for not knowing. If you are an adult here, there's still an excuse. If you don't know about an area, if there's something you simply don't have the knowledge, well, sometimes we call someone who does, right? We would find someone who may know something and ask them to help us with that. And when we do that, we are the one who is when we do that, we expect this other professional maybe to handle something. Because this is their professional area, right? This is their business, or this is their knowledge. They have wisdom here, we don't. And because we don't have that wisdom, we should rely on that. It's almost like in a buyer-seller situation. If you're the customer and you want to buy a product, you could say, you could be ignorant or less knowledgeable in an area. Let's say you want to buy a new car. And well, you know that there are many cars on the market. You want to buy a new car, for instance. Which one is the best choice, right? So if you don't know much about cars, well, you could, maybe you need someone to help you to figure this out. And you would maybe contact someone whom you expect, who knows something about this, right? Because you have no clue. Should I buy a benzene car, or maybe a hybrid car? Maybe a car running solely on I don't know, any specific kind of fuel. Maybe it should be an electric car. Which one would be the best in the long run for me, with the amount of miles I need or I usually drive. What about insurance? What about other kinds of costs that come along with this kind of, what about repairs, right? And is that expensive and so on? If you don't know much about cars, you would go to someone and you should I almost get the feeling of let yourself be the innocent one, right? Claim yourself to be innocent here. That you it's like you need to have that experience, what that means. It's like so here I feel like I'm definitely talking to a Virgo that is overly responsible. Like they tend to take responsibility for things, even things you don't know anything about. It probably is your fault then, or you should know, or you ought to, or you should have researched or something. Here it feels a little bit like it's okay to claim to be the one who is innocent, to claim to be the one that doesn't know and can be held responsible or accountable. Okay, I have another flyer here. It says solution reversed. Yeah, it's like maybe you are not supposed to be the one who finds the solutions for something. That you should be the one who is, as I said, like the customer, right? The car salesman should come up with different kinds of choices for you. They should be the one who puts in the work to find a solution here. Again, the innocent one is probably not the one who figures out the solutions, right? Because they don't know about the area, right? They don't know about this particular business trade or this particular product or how to I want to say trust your innocence, but it's almost like claim that you are the one who is not accountable, right, in a situation here. Claim that you are not the one who is. Or maybe you are dealing with a person who is like this, right? That who is acting like a child. They are not taking any accountability for anything. They don't know how to find solutions. They are they just do as she shows with the hands, right? Yeah, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know. You know, and just sits back and does nothing, right? And if you're dealing with a person like that, an overly responsible Virgo would take some kind of action. They would research something. They would try to find a solution. They would Google. They would call someone. They would try to fix it. Even if you don't know how to, you would do it anyway, right? But I get almost a feeling that it should be all right for you to be this one also sometimes. That experiencing innocence, like that you are not you're not the one taking action. It's interesting because when I reverse this and I look at the card, it says here success that comes from objective compromise, self-control and patience, forgiving and healing energy. So it seems like there are certain solutions here that maybe you would like to come to, like a fixing something here. But somehow I get the feeling that you can't claim to be the one in this case, whatever it is, Virgo. In this case, it seems like you can claim to be the one who doesn't know. You should allow yourself what that feels like. Maybe there is something here about, I don't know, asking for help maybe. As I said, if you used to be an overly responsible Virgo, you're not usually someone who sits like this. Like sits like, well, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that is. If you used to be overly responsible for your life, maybe other people's life, you would probably start doing something. As opposed to saying, I don't know, I probably need to ask for help then. The asking for help is maybe what you need to experience, that you are literally the one who doesn't know, you are not supposed to know, perhaps. And what do we do if the power goes? Or what do we do if we have a flat tire? Right? Experiencing innocence for me also talks about this not needing to be accountable. Right? There is an excuse to children or people who don't know, right? Or can't act somehow if they are disabled or mentally ill or something. We would have an excuse for that. We would say, oh yeah, but it's because they don't know how to take action, or they don't know who to call, or like they are less able to, therefore I am going to do it, right? But maybe you should it would be all right for you to be the one who is not necessarily solving everything, that you can say, I don't know either, right? I don't know either how to do this. So maybe I should ask someone to help me with this. That's what I feel like. And it may actually be a new experience. Like this idea of just saying, yeah, but I don't know either. I don't know what to do. And again, if we sit like that and we are not able to actually do something, we don't know what to do about it. It could be like a feeling of frustration, or it could simply be something that is asking us to be patient. And if we are asking help from others, we must be patient that they come with it, or they return with the offers, the car offers for us, or maybe they need to be the researchers, right? Maybe they need to be the analysts. They need to make a calculated good guess, or make a good advice. And in order for them to do so, they need to maybe research or do something before they can come back and give that to us. So we do need patience. We do need to be able to sit back and just relax and expect that this is going to come. And trust it. Yeah, again, trust it, right? Trust the innocence you have, and that because you are innocent in the matter, something will come towards you. If that's what you're doing, if you're asking for help, or you're asking for advice, or you're asking that this is what you are actually embodying. You don't know about this. I have no knowledge about this. Maybe that's why I had this feeling of two things in the beginning. Something that felt more like a hobby, and something that felt more like work. That if someone sits here and they are forced into a situation where there is like a workload that they don't know anything about, it can be that it's more difficult to find solutions over here, and therefore it feels frustrating. This is maybe where we need to ask for help, right? That I don't know how to solve this, so I need your help to solve this. And then we need patience to somehow wait for those who do know about this area of business to come back and then present something to us, take care of it. But it may take a while. It may take, I don't know, hours, days, perhaps, depending on what the situation is, how urgent it is, and whether it can be solved. Maybe they need help as well to solve something, right? Maybe they need to ask a specialist somewhere as well. But I get this feeling of experiencing what it means to be the one who is innocent, not accountable. The one who doesn't know, who is also not supposed to know. I feel like it's like if you are the customer of a product that you haven't designed, you haven't developed it, and you don't know specifically much about it, we can say that you're the innocent party here who wants to buy a product, but you don't know anything about it. You don't know how it works, how to maintain it. Are there costs or repairs involved, as I talked about with the cars? Which car would be a good choice for you if you have if you have to commute many miles every day, which kind of car would be a good choice then for you, right? Maybe we need to rely on others to come with an advice. We need to allow others to come in and recommend something or to fix something. So it means that that there is something about this also where I want to say, are you open to hear the advice? Are you open to receive help? I get the feeling of like experiencing this. Allow yourself to experience being the one who is supposed to receive an offer or receive help in some way, and experience what that feels like to be the one who is helped. Or but in order to do so, you also have to open and allow the help to come in that form. Maybe the help comes in a form you didn't like or you didn't anticipate. Again, I said there's something about maybe familiar and not so familiar. And maybe the help may come in a not so familiar form. But it doesn't mean that it's bad or you can't use it or it's not good enough. Maybe it doesn't come in the form that you normally get. Like if a child goes to kindergarten and they hurt themselves, the help they will get from one of the kindergarten teachers is not going to be the same as the help they get from their mother, right? It's probably going to be different. The mother will come in with all her heart and try to comfort the child. The kindergarten teacher will come in maybe in a similar way, but still not the same, because this is not her child, right? They can be comforting, they can make sure the child is all right, but it's not the same thing, right? There's this thing about something familiar and something that is not the same. It may be all right, but not the same, or it's not as it used to be. Or it's not what I would prefer. This would be what you would prefer, and this is the second best, but I take it because I can't get what I prefer. There is something about being the one that we have to allow whatever could come in and help us to come in the form that it knows best, even though it's not what you would prefer, right? Again, Virgo, you can have very high standards and look for perfectionism, so there is something about maybe having a bit of patience with if something doesn't come in right, like in perfect terms. It doesn't mean that it's not usable or that it can't work out. It may feel unfamiliar, it may not come in the same way, maybe it's more expensive, maybe it's not the style you were asking for, but it still may work, right? But that's what it means to be the one who is sitting here and doesn't know. And when you don't know, you are suddenly relying on help from others, or relying on others to do stuff. And if they should do stuff, it may come in a form that you wouldn't prefer, right? Maybe it's not high enough octave for you, like, it's not the same standard or something that you would prefer if you were the one who did take action. Instead of saying, I don't know how to do this. um, I'm asking you to do it, right? But what if you said, I still don't know this, but I take action anyway. So I research, I try to do stuff, I do it in the pace I want it to. I'm making sure of this and that and so on. Then you could design it more according to maybe your wishes. But if we are the ones who say, I don't know how to fix this or do this, I'm now relying on your help. Please help me, right? Then the help is going to be different, perhaps, but it doesn't mean that it can't work. It doesn't mean that it can't be a success anyway. You just have to adapt to it. And there is something about, would you be willing to adapt to something? If you are the one who sits here, it's almost like you need to experience that. Take the responsibility off your shoulders here and allow someone else to do it, or allow someone else to be able to give it to you. There's something about receptivity here, or lack of receptivity, that it's almost like you need to experience what this means to receive something. I feel like that there's something about a control issue that is going on, that wanting to control a certain outcome, or a certain, and I get the feeling that it's like the letting go, this, I don't know, like, I don't know, please help me, right? It means that you are now dependent on the corporation, or something outside of yourself. And I feel I get a like a reluctance to do that somehow. um So when I look at this card, I was puzzled by it because I get absolutely nothing from it. Well, I know that this idea of starseed and starseed elemental here, but I get absolutely nothing from it. Like there's no information here, and maybe that's the problem, right? Because I was puzzled a little bit about the word elemental. To have a connection with whatever starseed origin you may have, Virgo. An elemental thing is to be able to receive through your heart chakra, through your if you have no ability to open up and say, I don't know perhaps how to do this, or we could say connect with your purity, connect with a part of you. We could even say the innocence here has to do with purifying yourself. How white she is here, right? Purifying. And maybe you have been purifying a lot here, but you are still not receiving the messages or the solutions you're hoping for. Somehow I get a feeling it's because you're not allowing it in. You're so used to fixing, I think. I even get the feeling that if you would sit in meditation, right, and you would try to be receptive of information, you would even blame yourself if that doesn't happen. Right? It's almost like then I have to bathe more. I have to purify more. I have to make more breath work. I have to make more. I have to pray more. It's like take the accountability on your shoulders that something isn't working here. That something isn't working. Taking that as a sign that you haven't done enough. Like you haven't done what it takes. So again, that you believe that it's you, that you are to blame for not having the solutions. And this is it's purple, right? So it's clairvoyantly, it's intuitive, it's crown chakra, that you don't have the divine solutions or the intuitive solutions. And taking that responsibility as it's because you're to blame, right? That it must be because of you, right? Because of you, and maybe a sense of impurity or guilt or something. As I said in the beginning, that is the opposite of innocence, is that you are guilty for something. So if I can't have the solutions, if I can't have an open crown chakra, if I can't have, if I can't open my third eye, if I can't do that, it must be my fault. I'm to blame somehow. But I think that it's more the other way around. That if you start thinking that it has nothing to do with that. It's not that you haven't done enough. Instead of thinking that there's something wrong, that you haven't done enough, that you are if something isn't working out here, that it's your fault, right? That it's because you haven't done enough somehow. I don't think so. I think that it's more like something is hindering you here from receiving something, I think. And I think there is a sense of guilt or something, that it's we have wind here. This is air energy, right? This is also anything that has to do with the mind, perception. It's, you could say, communication, right? Words in the wind, intuition, telepathy. It's claircognizance, clairaudience. It's anything that has to do with your mind, and communication. And communication with, you would say, your star seed origin. An elemental for that is that you are able to receive. Right? That you can lay back and say, I am. It's like there's nothing wrong with you, right? There's nothing wrong with you. You have And again, even if you don't know how to open up and be receptive to information here, maybe it's because you are the novice. Maybe it's because you don't know how to do this. Maybe you are a child. Maybe you are young. Maybe you are inexperienced. It doesn't really matter. Claim that, right? Claim that this is how I am at the moment. And I'm doing my best. There's nothing wrong with me. It's not that I haven't done enough, or that I'm a bad person or something. I'm claiming that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I can open, right? I am the innocent one. Maybe this is what you're supposed to say, right? I am the innocent one. Please talk to me. But then it also means that you really have to try to be open to what it is that comes to you. But one elemental thing is that you cannot communicate in the psychic realm unless you have a willingness to open. And again, open to what comes. Again, maybe it doesn't come in the form, again, this idea of the two realms here, that there's something that is familiar and you like it and it's pleasant, and over here it's maybe not that pleasant or not that familiar. Again, if we open up and something comes in, maybe it's not coming in a way you liked. Again, maybe you are hoping to see, angels, or you want something nice to come in and be pleasant. But maybe that's not what's coming. Maybe all you get are warnings, right? Because that's the kind of light worker you are. You are someone who is receptive to getting warnings about, I don't know, environmental stuff perhaps, or something. It's whatever wants to come in here has a certain form that relates to you. So you cannot necessarily choose. I've said that before on my channel. When I started doing tarot, I wanted to, as many others, maybe do some love stories or love tarot readings, right? But it wasn't what was coming through for me. Like, the messages, very soon they turned into a different direction. And it is because I'm really not in charge of that. It's like I'm supposed to be a channel for these kind of messages, right? I'm not supposed to do love readings. It's not how it turns out for me. Never. So there is something about accepting that, accepting also that when you kind of sit here and you want to be receptive to whatever information, maybe the solution you are looking for is not what's coming. Like what is coming for you is something else. The guidance you receive is maybe not about solutions in your life to problems or something. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you are guided more towards, you could say, shadow work here, or other kinds of she is the moon goddess here. So she works with, you could say, moon elements, secrets, things hidden. Could be, like the unspoken taboos, things that are, well, not something people normally like to talk about, right? This could talk about someone who is very capable of dealing with grief, right? Grief, sorrows, pain. Like she could be someone who really knows about the darker desires of people, right? Those things that can draw us in and tempt us and lure us in, and like she is very capable of being here, right? Someone who understands that the human mind works in so many different ways, that we like to present like a face, an outside face of being like accomplished and successful. But underneath it all, we can have addictions and we can have all kinds of stuff going on. Prejudice and manipulations and anger and stuff going on, but we are not showing it, right? That would be also her area here, right? So maybe what it is that you're receiving is not necessarily like, rosy and pleasant. But you may need to understand that an elemental thing here is that what you are dealing with is and this is what I feel like, that it's like there is an area that you like. It's more familiar to you, and somehow you like to deal with that. You would like to be open to that, right? You would like to open up to that area, and then you want to contract more if it gets in this other area here. It may not feel pleasant. It may not be nice. It doesn't feel high octave, right? It doesn't feel good, perhaps. But I get the feeling that whatever you are having here is. I do want to look at the book, I think, for this starseed, because it's like I get nothing. It's like it's not selling me much. The only thing that stands out is this very big face here. Like if you're trying to open up here and the only thing you get is like this right in your face, right? That something feels very big and very like overwhelming, maybe. That could be why I would rather stay over here where it's more pleasant and smaller, and that is more my type, right? Or that I can deal with this, I can remain in control here. But I think that you can carry more, right? I think you can deal with this as well, whatever it is. But let's have a look at this starseed. So it says here, children as teachers, fun, lightheartedness, joy, laughter, newly incarnated souls, the child within, maintaining an inquisitive perspective, wonder and imagination. Being with children can be a great way to recapture wonder, innocence, unapologetic truth and wisdom. Their realities are not yet muddied by by shoulds or cannots, and their imaginations are often so wild and creative that they can be our biggest inspirers. Furthermore, as their incarnation from pure spirit is more recent, they are still aware of energy and have a natural psychic awareness. Sometimes adulting can become too serious. When this happens, bringing a childlike, light-hearted sense of play to your perspective can be the most productive way to rebalance. Facing challenging circumstances with inquisitiveness can bring joy to whatever we are accomplishing. Imagine stepping into a child's shoes and seeing how they perceive the world. If you have a problem, consider how a child might solve it. And that makes sense, especially because we have the Innocence card here. And I just talked about children and like the innocence and how we are excusing them, right? We are excusing them for being imperfect and not knowing everything. If we are embracing the fact that we actually don't know necessarily everything about the world, we can discover a curiosity, right? We can experiment with, I don't know, paint and all kinds of ways we can become like a child again, right? But maybe we need to look a little bit confirmed with the goddess of the moon here, because this can be a bit hidden, right? Again, maybe this trust your innocence and the star seed elemental, this part of you is, as I said, it's like I get nothing from this. Like it's it feels so closed off or so unexploited, like you haven't really been here, and that it feels correct in the sense that I said earlier on. I talked to an over-responsible Virgo that has not really been in this situation. It's like a Virgo who grew up too fast, right? They became too responsible too soon. They didn't have this, like they didn't have this time of innocence, where they allowed the imagination to run wild. Life became too serious too soon. That would be the goddess of the moon here, right? I want to say needing to have patience with this, like again, look at this card here. It's like we see there's someone here in the background, but she's not that visible, is she? It's like she's a bit hidden. It's almost like we can't see her that clearly. Again, it feels a little bit like there is... It's interesting how big this is, because somehow I do feel that there's a lot to be gained if we could connect with this. But it just feels, again, it's like I get nothing from it, or not much from it. But also that child does not always do pleasant things, right? They don't stay in one area that is only pleasant, maybe, or familiar. They are exploring all kinds of stuff to figure out what they like, right? So maybe you need to also explore something you don't know so much about. That could be the curiosity of the innocent, right? What is that? I don't know what that is. I want to know what that is. That's what the child does. The Queen of Raphael, follow your heart. A love of home and family, trustworthy psychic information, kind, understanding, giving, psychic. Queen of Raphael here. This is a more watery realm. The moon again here. It's a more watery realm. We say that Cancer and Pisces is ruled by the moon. So maybe you need to tap into a more watery realm. A childlike watery realm. And also accept what's there somehow, right? It's like it's almost also like you have to somehow to cut to silence your controlling mind. I get this example also of someone trying to sit in meditation, trying to be open and receptive, and maybe you are following a guided meditation, and the guide is telling you to visualize a field or a forest or something, and it's like, I can't do it. I don't see the forest, or I somehow can't follow the instruction. So in the midst of the meditation, you're now frustrated and panicking because it's like, I'm doing it wrong. I must be doing it wrong, right? So there is something about relaxing, something about just go with the flow of it. That it's not about being perfect, doing it right the first time. It's really about patience. It's really about this, again, the watery realm here is not the connection with the psychic realm, you could say, is a relaxed, kind place. Again, be kind and understanding here towards yourself also. Follow your heart. It's what your heart tells you, not what your mind necessarily tells you. It's like, try to let the mind activity just flow a little bit. The information that you're supposed to have is going to come, but not if you're trying to force it. And I do feel I'm talking to a Virgo that has this like over-responsible way of dealing with life, because having a playful, more open-minded approach to life is not what you know. You don't know that. You don't know what it means. The Virgo I'm talking to grew up too fast. There was no play, or there was no exploration. There was no, or very little, right? So again, maybe it's difficult to figure out what it means to be like that, like be the child. I get the feeling it's like, it's a little like, but with all the stuff I do know, like of being an adult, how am I supposed to kind of shove that aside and to imagine to be the child? It's like, how do I silence the adult stuff, right? Because it's like, I cannot not know that. It's like, it's still there, right? But so how can I not know that? Yeah. I think that I don't know if I get a bit of a frustration, right? I feel like also trust your innocence, that it is there, that there is some of this in you, even though you may feel like really disconnected from this. Like it's, maybe that's why this is reversed, right? That it's like there is no communication here, or no, not feeling a connection to it. But I also get maybe a bit of a reluctancy that how should the child in me be able to solve anything? And the goddess of the moon is definitely here, because connecting with her, or this childlike part of you, is the child within, is that could be why we have the moon energy here. It because it's hidden or forgotten or repressed, or so we have to be rather kind with ourselves and patient. It doesn't come in overnight. But it's interesting how I see this as with all these colors here, that there's a lot of and also like this feeling of shining, that something wants really to shine through, and maybe it's like, again, starseed element. When I look at it, it's like maybe it's a bit different, like it wants to express itself differently than in a different way. And again, the face is very big here, right? It's like it, I feel like it actually has a big expression, or when the door opens, it's like it has a big expression, or a big voice, or like a big tune to it, or a big awareness, or a big consciousness somehow. But it's just, when I looked at it, it kind of really was like I just got nothing, like that there was no. Can I get a card on this starseed elemental here? There's something about the word elemental that is to have a connection with the starseed origin here for you, that there is something elemental to know, or to accept, maybe to accept. Again, I get this over responsible Virgo, a seriousness, a, like a perfect surface or something, and the elemental is that what it is you are maybe trying to connect with here is not that. It's not perfect. It's probably strange or weird, or messy. Maybe it's messy. As a child is, right? Because a child is, as it's said in the book, right? It's not corrupted, or muddled with, or restricted, or being with children can be a great way to recapture wonder, innocence, unapologetic truth, and wisdom. Their realities are not yet muddied by shoulds and cannots, and their imaginations are often so wild and creative that they can be our biggest inspirers. Sometimes adulting can become too serious, right? When this happens, bringing a childlike, light-hearted sense of play to your perspective can be the most productive way to rebalance. Productive way to rebalance something, right? If you have a problem, consider how a child might solve it. Think back to when you were little and what you loved to do. Remember how the world felt around you and how magical and mysterious things may have been. What has changed? What would you tell the 7-year-old you? The little people of today will be the inventors, creators, and leaders of tomorrow. How can we help nourish their big souls, right? To ready them for the optimal journey through life. Can I have a card on the starseed elemental here, please? I get almost a sense of dizziness and like a roundabout. Is that what it's called? A roundabout? Like in an amusement park, like a roundabout, like that this one is a bit of a roller coaster ride. Okay, let me get a card on this one. So I get indecision. So indecision would mean that it's someone who, or an energy that has no real like one way or the other, like they could go either way or both ways at the same time, or there is no right or wrong way. Indecisive could also mean that not caring much, or how can I say that? It's not that they don't care, it's just that it's not important, right? It's not really important whether we play this or that. It's an energy that is maybe not so critical, actually. And that's very interesting, because I get a very serious, like I get an overly responsible, serious Virgo energy, right? And if you have an inner child that really doesn't care, that is the opposite. Because if you are very serious, it's because there are rights and wrongs, right? There are good and bad. And you can either take a good direction or a bad direction, or a not so good direction or not so bad direction. You can go either way, right? And it just like the child in you is not like that. The child in you finds that, I want to say, anything could be fun, right? Anything could be fun here. The indecision could talk about that you are not quite sure whether you want to connect with this one or not. But if you do, I actually get the feeling they are not very judgmental, I want to say. They they don't care, like, or not caring, that maybe not the right word, but it's like they're not judging. They're not really judging. But the indecision card, I get more the feeling of maybe you are indecisive whether you want to connect with it again. Yeah, it's like, but why is that? He stands with his back turned here. If this is the child, right? It stands with its back turned. Now it comes across a little bit, but what could make it turn around so you can talk to it? it's a little bit like, are you rejecting it, or is it rejecting you here? Or indecisive about whether it wants to talk to you or whether you want to talk to it. Huh. Maybe that's why we need the goddess of the moon here to make some shadow work on this, right? Because it seems a little bit like there's something about trust also. I think that do you trust your inner child, even though it's wild or loud or noisy? Do you trust it, or big? Do you trust it? It says here, trust your innocence. Do you trust it? Because it feels a little bit like, I'm not turning around if you're not trusting me, right? Or now I get like, how could you not trust me? Or something like that. Maybe that's why, again, we have kind, understanding, giving here, a love of home and family, right? And the one here is standing in front of the family tree, right? But it's like it's blocked, or they are turning their back. You can't communicate with them. It's like that what should make them want to communicate with you? If this has been abandoned a long time ago, why? Why was this abandoned? What on earth is so... What is so... What is it that makes either you, the adult you, refusing to talk to them, or what is it that is making them not talk to you, right? Maybe they don't trust you, or you don't trust it, this part of you, right? Can I get one more card, please, on this star seed elemental? Get the wheel here. New beginnings, end of delays, a change in direction that offers happiness. And this is, again, purple color, crown chakra. Now I get peace offering. It's almost like that there needs to be a... Because the wheel can either turn in your favor or the opposite. And maybe that's why we had like a solution reversed here, right? That the feeling that it has been like a reversed wheel here. It has been spinning backwards. Not really in your favor. It has been... And again here, trust your innocence. Trust the child in you. But can you trust it? It feels a little bit like you're not. If you grew up too fast, right? You had no like feeling of play and childhood expression. There could be shaming here, right? That maybe you were told to stop it, right? To stop being this. That whatever this is too loud or too wild or too weird or too different or too much or something. And you learn to hide it, or to, again here, like you learned how to somehow cover it up or something. You changed your mind, you could say. You changed your mind and covered it. So to open the door and communicate with it is like going backwards and then try to find it, right? But it's like and maybe that's why I get nothing here, because it actually has a back turned here. Why is the back turned? Well, it's because you discarded it, right? It's because you didn't allow it to come forward. But of course you didn't. If you were, like if you were ashamed for it, maybe punished, like it's like it needs a new beginning. The new beginning can come, but it's like a change in direction that offers happiness. But you need a change in the direction. You need a change in the way you speak, respect or accept something here. Again, like there's this idea of something that is familiar and good in a certain way. I would like it to come forward, but only in this very familiar and maybe accepted way. But what if something is coming through that is, it's too much or too noisy or too messy somehow? Then you're actually not accepting that part of you, right? You're accepting some of it, but not really fully. You're not accepting fully who they are. It's like not accepting. You're actually doing the same thing to yourself as your parent did to you. You're accepting some of it, but not all of it. Again, only partially we are accepting it, but not fully. I also get like being afraid, maybe almost being afraid of it, being afraid of what it is here. The shadow work here would be talking to it, I would say. Talking to it. Trying to express that you want to get to know it, that you're not sure how to. That you know that it has been repressed, that you know it has been hidden, that you know it wasn't given the right to come forward, but you're trying to somehow figure out how to do that. But I get a feeling of indecision. It's almost like the more you know or the more you get to know with this, the more difficult it becomes, because you are not only here, you are in this also. It feels like you are somehow touching upon something that is difficult, I think, and maybe unfamiliar, and maybe also draining. We see how the candle is, well, there is still light here, but it's very small, right? Maybe that's what it feels like, that you have only that little contact, right, with something here, and it's maybe it's like draining. Like the more it comes forward, the more it feels like it drains your energy, or it drains the life you have known up till now. It drains you, or the spark of this is so little, right, that you hardly know it. You hardly know what it is, because the spark of this is still controlled somehow. You're still controlling it. The feeling of having a connection to your starseed, like your starseed family, may feel very, very little, almost extinct. I get the feeling of different weird or and when I say that, it's of course in the terms of what would other children do, right? What would other free children do? Somehow I get a feeling of the expression from this one is different. Like they have a different way to them. And that could also explain why it was shamed or regarded as rigid or something. Maybe indifferent. Again, this indecision, maybe it was indifferent somehow. And that's again also the opposite of being very responsible and taking action and seeing the need to take action and do stuff. Where this is someone who is like, I don't care, I don't know, right? That it is whatever. And because it's a child, we may excuse it, but we would expect from an adult to somehow be able to take action if something happens that needs some kind of attention. We would expect them to take action, but this is something that really doesn't do that. Like they are not. But again, and I want to go back to when I read about this. It's because I've said that before on my channel. It's like I've said it before. It's well. I see if I can find it here. Yeah, it says if with the starseed elemental card, it says here. Furthermore, as their incarnation from pure spirit is more recent, they are still aware of energy and have a natural psychic awareness. So their incarnation from spirit is more recent. And if we talk about that, and at least that's my personal belief with whatever I've studied in the spiritual realm, that oneness is supposed to be where we come from. So in the oneness realm, there is no real distinction between good or bad. It just is, it's one big giant mix of, you would say, black and white and gray. It's all in some kind of entangled oneness. But when we come to Earth, it's like it gets split into duality, and we see everything as atoms. It's all divided, and I'm a part of an allness or a oneness. You are a part of a oneness, and if we combined all of us, we would have the oneness. But here on Earth, in the third dimension, it's like it's split up in duality. So we see all these versions of, or atoms of, a oneness. Every grass straw, every flower, every cow, every horse, every dog, everything is a part of an entire oneness. So when the children come from spirit, they come from the oneness where everything is balanced all the time, into a split version of it where everything is divided. So here they have to distinguish between what we call good and bad. And I've said this before, I believe that good and bad is a human thing. We say good and bad because it depends on whether it's threatening us. If we feel like it's threatening us, we say that it's bad. If we feel like it's benefiting us, we say that it's a good thing. We are in human form. If we were pure consciousness, it wouldn't matter. Illness wouldn't matter if I didn't have a body. It doesn't matter. I would just watch it, I would observe it, but I wouldn't be affected by it, right? It's only if it feels like a threat to us, we say that it's good or bad, or something like that. Starvation is bad, right? Because we can die from it. Yeah, because the body needs something. If I have no body, I wouldn't care about it. Right? That's I could watch it and I could see the animals die and I could say, oh, that's sad. They are extinct. But it wouldn't touch me, right? I would be safe. I would not be involved in it. So I could choose to be indifferent here. I could choose to not really say whether it's good or bad. I just stand in the middle here. I see it from another perspective. That's kind of what I feel like is here. Like it's like someone that sees it from a different, they stand in the middle. They are not really into the duality and all this. It's a different way of being. It seems as if it's indifferent or whether it doesn't care, but that's not what it is. It simply has another awareness, a different consciousness. It has a different belief. That's what I feel like. It's because it's closer. The incarnation from pure spirit is younger, right? It's younger, as I just said here. Furthermore, as their incarnation from pure spirit is more recent. So a part of them still remembers or still feels, you would say, in tune with the oneness somehow. It's more recent. So they haven't, this idea of duality is not really, it's not that present for them. That's why I also feel like you should trust that. Trust the innocent, because the innocent is from pure spirit. And this is where we have the oneness, which is a higher octave, you would say, dimensional energy. It's a more love-based energy, but it's the point is that whatever you find here, that is your innocence, that is your childlike being, has maybe a higher frequency, actually, a different way of discerning the world. The more you get in tune with this, the more you get to experience how they feel or how they see the life on earth, right? This could be the feeling of, when I get in touch with this, I feel more indifferent. I feel like I don't want to choose sides, or I don't see the point in choosing sides, because all that is here is supposed to be here. It's one big balanced oneness, but divided in different atoms. So it all needs to be here, right? That could be the knowledge of this one. It all needs to be here, even though in third dimension it's separated from each other, where in a higher dimension it's merged. But that would be what this is, right? That would be what this is. And as a child, if you put this forward as a child towards your parents, they would have looked at you like you were crazy, right? Of course there's good and bad. How can you not see that, right? Of course you have to do only this is good, and what you're doing here is bad, right? This is what we favor, this is what we don't want to see, right? But actually, where you come from, what is your childlike self, is actually standing in the middle. It stands in the middle. It has no meaning to whether something is good or bad. But this is not what you learned as a child, right? As a child, you learned that there's something that is only good, and we should only be here. And everything that is bad behavior or bad ways of being, what it is, your bad, wild behavior as a child was a threat to your parents' picture of you and to the family picture, where others could judge them, right? If you had a rigid behavior as a child, your family could be judged. That was a threat to them. Therefore, they corrected you, right? That's what I feel like. It's like you... I'm tuning in on it, but it's very slow, right? It's very... and maybe that's why you need to be kind here, understanding. Like really... doing the shadow work here, accepting how difficult it has been for you to let this go, perhaps. It's standing here with its back turned. It's not supposed to stand in the middle, right? It's supposed to take sides. It's supposed to stand over here, because here we have good and here we have bad. So it's supposed to go over here, but actually it has always wanted to stand in the middle, because it's not seeing the world like that. That's what I feel like. And if you can somehow trust that part of yourself, this is where you may have a new beginning for yourself, right? That you will start to see the world in a totally different view. And you will also be able to forgive yourself. You will start not being so, maybe starting relaxing more, not needing to be so serious, and not needing to take this overly responsible thing that something bad might happen, because actually deep down you may not be sure that it's actually bad. It just is. But you may be the only one who sees the world like this, right? In your family, perhaps, you may be the only one. And that's why accepting this fact about yourself means that you could be the one that you stand alone. And the back is turned to you, right? That the back is turned to you. If you accept this and embrace this, you could be the only one seeing the world like that. Needing to accept maybe that others still see the world like you used to do. So embracing your inner child here means that you are on a path where you are maybe signing up for a bit of a lonely journey, or you're on your own here. At the bottom of the deck for the starseed elemental, I have alignment. So it's like you're aligning for something, with something that potentially makes the wheel spin in a new direction. That could be you are aligning with this new beginning. But it doesn't mean that it's easy, right? So for this, I want to take the approach also to look at a self-care initiative that you can do if you find yourself in a process like this. And you become, the more you rely or you try to connect with your inner child here, you actually feel a little more indifferent about things. Maybe that scares you a little bit, that you feel a little more, well, whatever. But that's actually because you are aligning here with something in you here. What would be a self-care initiative for Virgo if you feel like you are resonating with this? So I get the Rainmaker here. So what I get from this is, I look at her face here, right? A self-care initiative would be maybe to embrace the Rainmaker in you, right? I almost want to say troublemaker, right? But that's not necessarily how I see a Rainmaker. A Rainmaker can be a miracle worker. If there has been dry season and the harvest is almost dried out, you're calling the Rainmaker, right? They will dance their wild dance and singing, wanting the skies to come together and create the rain. And maybe it needs to be a wild dance, a wild shamanic dance, right? So this could be the shaman in you, or and that could be this rigid thing that maybe in your upbringing that would not be considered like normal behavior, right? That the Rainmaker can be a miracle worker here, but the way they do it may seem a bit strange, right? The way they bring about their miracle or their special abilities again, how she looks here, it can be in a bit of a, I don't know, aggressive or a tumultuous, wild way, perhaps. So it seems like a self-care initiative could be that maybe just embrace that you are different. Maybe make a rain dance, right? That's, yeah, I feel like that is a thing that you, it could be a good thing to embrace this strangeness in you, perhaps, or the strangeness somehow. The Rainmaker is a master of manifestation who can call on the elements of nature to serve the greater good. When the power to co-create is used with integrity, great beauty and benefit flow to all. When this power is used for personal gain only, everyone suffers. When the earth is parched, the Rainmaker calls the water from the heavens, and all that is dormant in the fields and in people's hearts spring to life again. The Rainmaker is calling you to create something new from the elements that are already in your life. Be sure you work with what is, and not with what might be or could have been. The seeds that have been silently germinating in your heart will burst forth, ready for the sunlight. Do not hold back. Put all your chips on the next roll of the divine dice. Recognize how you are co-creating your world. Nothing is happening out there without your involvement. Remember that the world is only mirroring back to you the condition of your love and your intent. So change these within before you take any action. Do not take life personally. So it seems like a self-care initiative is definitely to work with what you have, not what potentially could be there already. So if you trust what you have here, what you already know, and also if you want to co-create with this side of yourself, that that there's something about where you position yourself. I really feel that whether you position yourself, do you stand in the fifth dimension where you are not considering anything good or bad necessarily, it just is? Or do you feel like you need to position yourself with something familiar and good and pleasant, and then hating something that is unfamiliar and seems bad or rigid or messy? Because then you are living in duality, right? This is where you are positioning yourself somewhere else. So decide where you are in life. I'm not saying that whatever you're doing here is wrong. It just is, right? Just know that you again, there's a potential for something here. Become real about who you are and what you actually have the ability to co-create with. Again, if you have been trusting your family and you stayed in the third dimension, you stayed overly responsible and serious, and you stayed there because your family expected you to, and be you were the reliable one, you know. You were the one who could they could always call upon. Maybe you should take a stand on that and decide whether that is what you want to do still. And whether you want to co-create with that, or you want to co-create with a new approach to something, a new beginning here, where your wheel could turn in a different direction perhaps. Because it seems like maybe you have not been able to find the solutions you wanted. But again, who were you co-creating with? From which standpoint were you co-creating? It seems like there is an opportunity for a new beginning here, but we have to trust what is here. And trust being weird. Maybe as I see her, it's almost like she's angry here. Trust being angry perhaps, or messy. At least if you want like a new beginning, because otherwise you're just like doing what you used to do, right? You're doing what you used to do. So I took one more card here. Queen of Ariel. Mature, practical, generous and happy. Nurture yourself and those you love. The ability to make anything more beautiful. Practical and wise advice. So, like, nurture who you are here. Maybe there's a side to you that is different and messy and whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Own it, right? Own who you are. And be happy with that. Know that it's quite alright to have that side to you. Again, here, trust the innocence. Again, I said in the beginning this idea of, but I don't know, right? So I cannot be accountable. But it could also be that if I don't want to take a stance, if I don't want to judge, I stand in the middle here. So I take myself out of any kind of discussion, right? If people are asking me my mind, I'm just saying I'm either or I'm none of them. I just stand in the middle, right? I trust that if I again, trust your innocence, trust what your child would tell you, right? That you don't have to engage necessarily. You don't have to take a stance. You don't have to say this is either good or bad. Or because it's familiar, it's good. And because it's unfamiliar, it has to be bad. Right? So a friend is always a friend. And someone I don't know has to be my enemy. It doesn't have to be like that, right? So if you stand there in the middle and say, I trust what my inner child actually always have told me, that I don't have to make a decision. I can stand in the middle. I can say, I don't know. I don't know which is best. I put myself in the middle. Or if people want to win you over, like, don't you agree that this is the right thing to do and this is terrible? You can just say, I don't know. I don't have to make a stance. It's your decision, right? I don't want to, but I would like your opinion. Yeah, but I don't know. I can see that both can have advantages. I can see that both can have disadvantages. I'm just putting myself in the middle. I don't want to take a stand. I don't want to come with any kind of solution for you because it's not up to me, right? It's not up to me to solve anything. I don't have to be as responsible for anyone's choices. You make your own choice, right? I just stand here. I decide to experience your innocence. I decide to trust my inner child who tells me to stand in the middle, not to make a decision or not to take a stance, not to advise someone. Again, if you have been the overly serious, responsible, maybe people were seeking your advice, right? Maybe they seeked your guidance. But somehow, if you stand in the middle, there are pros and cons to everything. There's yin and yang to everything. How do you see? Again, that could be it. How do you see the situation? Because I kind of just stand in the middle. The more you may be able to do that you don't have to come up with the solutions, you don't have to solve every people's life. Right? Yeah, maybe you come across as like the indifferent sister or the indifferent son or daughter or parent, but again, you're actually asking them to step forward and decide what they want to do, right? And it takes some of the weight off your shoulder. You don't have to be accountable. You don't have to take charge. You don't have to do anything. But again, you may need a meeting with the goddess of the moon here, because if this is what you used to do, you actually have to stop yourself. You have to tell yourself it's all right not to take a stand. It's all right not to do anything. It's all right to just stay still. It's all right to... So you have to be kind and understanding. Give yourself permission to be that. To allow that voice to come through. That's what I feel like is here for you, Virgo. I hope this helps somehow. Again, it may be like a very little spark. It may be very little, right? Inexperienced, young, new, and maybe you will meet resistance, right? Maybe you, again, or the tone of this, or the tuning in is very small, like you get bit by bit of this, that it's that you're tuning in on it very slowly and like with a little bit of flame here, just a little bit. But the more you get used to it, right, the more you can actually stay there, stay in it. That's where you're turning the wheel around slowly but surely, doing that, and have a new beginning. It's when you start believing in this, when you start trusting it. Trust your innocence. It's like trust the message of your inner child, right? The truth that the inner child knows here. That if you start trusting that, this is where you maybe become the rainmaker, right? This is where you start to make real new big moves, or you have new beginnings here. This is what I have. This is where you mature. This is where you, I want to say, take matters into your own hand, right? This is where you nurture yourself. You work with what you have, and you can create like the world you would like. Maybe not with those who used to be there, but with new people, perhaps. This is what I have. I hope this helped. Take very good care of yourself out there, Virgo. Love and light to you. Bye-bye.